This is Lana of the Lana Vishnu Orchestra. Now, I'm going to start out by saying I am not the greatest keyboardist. I was a horn player, and piano was the also-ran of my instruments as a kid. I don't know how many times I've sat down to noodle around on the keyboard, finding something interesting to turn into a song, and I get about 20 minutes in, go refill my coffee, and come back and have lost the thread. Or I have something really cool and want to save it, but don't want to practice it enough to be able to play it into the DAW in a usable fashion. Or I sit and poke notes in a piano roll, one chord at a time, so I have a record, which is kind of tedious, and like applying Excel to composing. There's got to be an easier way, something that can save chords and play them with a button press. Well, as an autistic AF geek who loves programming as much as I love making music, I have solved my problem. The ChordArranger. Ta-da! It's a PyQt application, written in Python using the Qt framework. Blah, blah, what, you say? Yeah, well, it makes writing applications with a graphical user interface quite easy and streamlined. And it's cross-platform. In any case, let's talk about how it works. It has 16 slots for chords. You can choose from minor and major versions, and if you need a diminished or a sus4 or a sharp 9 flat 13, okay, no, I don't go quite that far, but there's 17 choices for each one, and that will usually get you there. This is a scratchpad, not heavy engineering. All my chords and scales are in a Postgres database. A, because I have Postgres already for other stuff, and B, none of the Python modules I looked into could properly build scales and chords and keep them in the proper key signature. I had to hack 6 ways to Sunday to get there, while excluding the scales like D sharp major or D flat minor with double flats or double sharps. There's a reason those aren't listed on the Circle of Fifths. No one, except a couple of avant-garde weirdos, and I say this with the utmost respect for avant-garde weirdos, want to use them. Anyway, once you've selected the root note of the chord and whether it's major or minor, you get your choices, and you can change the octave it's in, and most importantly, easily change the voicing in a way I thought was the most intuitive. Click the notes of the chord in the order you want them, from lowest to highest. See? Easy. Now, once you've got some chords in, you can click the note button, and it will play the chord on whatever synth is listening. But wait, there's more. I have 2 modes of pushing buttons, or playing keys, on my MIDI keyboard to tell my program what button to push, and thus what chord to play. You can save and load presets, and when I'm using it with my DAW, I can remote control the DAW to have it record my sequence. There's a performance mode where I can trigger the keys from my keyboard, but frankly though, if I want to put them into the DAW, the fastest way is to step record them in, having each button press add them in as a full bar. It's a scratchpad to help remember the song fragment I'm working on, a DAW helper, a practice app that's the synth equivalent of guitar tabs, with audio feedback to verify that I've saved it right or am practicing it correctly. So it was pretty big when I got this all working. Love it. The intro and outro music is the result of things I jotted down with ChordArranger and practiced them enough for recording. But the day after I finished it, I saw a video that blew my mind. It was a map of modal interchanges, a graphic that shows a scale and all of the modifications you can make to borrow chords from other modes of the scale, swap between major and minor versions of chords at will, and pretty much a chromatic map of everything you might want to do with chord changes but didn't know how to get there. His video was full of relevant examples of modal substitutions as he built the levels of this map. I imagine the video is showing off that app now too, as I turned that into an app too. I've got maps from 3 of his videos. You can see the credits in there, and I'll put credits, links to the videos in the doodly-doo down below. And it's got the circle of fifths, all handy composing visual aids. I'm not going to bore you with the YouTube discourse on modes. There's plenty of people who do that, and if you really want to get it, go watch Pur Pasteur's video if you're interested in that. Like I say, links in the description. The guy is an amazing music theory teacher. This is a great app to have open when I'm noodling around on the keyboard. Okay, so the next step with ChordArranger is to make this into a program that can run on Windows, easy enough, and write my own chords and scales Python module so that I can do this without the database. Because nobody wants to have to install Postgres and import my database to be able to run the app. Also, I'm going to add a configurator so that you can select the MIDI ports you're going to use, and then it'll be Windows and general user ready. So maybe a couple of weeks to a month or so. And that's pretty much it. And I'll have instructions. Probably a follow-up video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for when I get this fully working. I'll pin a comment with the link to my Google Drive when it's there.